Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Colin Ray Slays YouTube channel. We're here for part 2 of the aim training Q&A portion of the Get Cracked on Controller mini-series that I did with Izzle TTV right here. And him and I were just talking about, just different styles of playing on controller, different questions that he had about doing some of the aim training activities and stuff like that. And so you'll see in the video him and I going through and doing some of the activities together. And then at the end of doing the activities, I kind of just explained like why I think that these certain activities are most important for you to do. Big props to Toby Wanshinobi for creating the zero build training map. This video and then a lot of other content that I've made wouldn't be possible without him, so thank you again. Yeah, I just hope you guys enjoy this Q&A that I did with Izzle TTV and us going through some of the aim training exercises and just kind of hanging out at the end of the stream. It was a lot of fun. So if you do get the chance to watch the video, make sure that you like and subscribe, and then go ahead and follow me at Colin Ray Slays on Twitch. If you want to see more content like this, you can always jump in and hang out with me live. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. What are your thoughts on standard controller to paddle claw? I don't really like the way that claw feels. I tried playing claw for a little while. I did not ever like feeling my finger right here in this position. It feels way too compact with both my fingers trying to do this over each other. There's a lot of people that play claw and they're completely comfortable with it. I just never understood how they felt comfortable with it, honestly. When I learned about playing claw versus playing with a pro controller and stuff, I opted to go for the pro controller with paddles and everything before I wanted to commit to playing claw for that reason specifically. I've watched plenty of people that play Apex and Fortnite and other games on claw, and it just completely baffles me. I don't know how they do it. I think that the advantages that you get with paddles versus going to claw are much greater. And so having the paddles over switching to claw is just I think it's the move. But I play on tactical, and so it's a little bit different for me. I played builds, very frequently for a little while when I first started getting back into playing Fortnite, and I made it to champion rank in builds. My second or third season playing, and so I almost hit Unreal, and after that was when I decided that I was kind of overplaying builds because I just wasn't figuring out how to get the edit timing down to be able to do it well. And so then I was like, you know what? I don't even really enjoy playing builds all that much anyways, and so I'll just move to playing zero build full time. I've only been playing this game regularly for about a year and a half now, and that's it. But yeah, the person that made this map, Toby Wanshinobi, is actually the one that I'm subscribed to on YouTube. That I got recommended this controller from. He had a video of him talking about getting this controller, years back, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta get that. Okay, so the first activity that we'll start with is smooth tracking. And so there's just this bot that you see floating around that you've just gotta track all the way across, and you want to try to land critical damage on it, obviously, because that's just how you're going to get the lowest TTK, time to kill, if you don't know what TTK is. And then also it just helps you really focus on your acceleration, making sure that you have steady aim and making sure that you're not sporadically pulling your joystick away from the center, too far and then too little and then too far and then too little. And so sometimes I'll even jump into this exercise and I'll literally just try and do it without shooting so that I know that I'm pulling evenly when I'm moving across the screen, up and down and so on and so forth, and making sure that I'm staying consistent with the way that it's moving all the way throughout the exercise. So here we go. Also making sure that you're staying centered on your target left and right as well when it's moving vertically. Making sure you're landing crit damage when it's at the close intervals, because it's much easier to spot the headshots. Also, this bot is bugging out like crazy. Yeah, he's like kind of like pretty like framey. Here, let's go into this. Go into the next one, the flick shots right here. So this exercise right here is actually a really good thing that I was talking about earlier about playing with no reticle. Go to reticle and damage feedback, and we're gonna turn reticle off. And so this is a really good exercise to get used to playing without your reticle, because it's really up close bots. And so you're more visually focused on the middle of the screen and trying to pre-aim what you see versus just looking at your reticle too much. That you can actually see aim assist grabbing the target as it's moving across your screen if you really pay attention. And so now that I have my reticle off, we'll go back into it again, and then I'll do it myself. 30. 60. One thing that I will talk about inside of this is left stick aiming. And so I'm not going to shoot at my targets, but one thing that you want to be concerned about when you're aiming with controller is just left stick aiming. Using your left stick to pull yourself in the direction that your target is moving across your screen is going to make it so that you have to do that much less aiming because you're going into the direction that it's traveling. And so it's even that much faster if you concern yourself with left stick aiming to be able to match the trajectory that your target is going, so that you have to do that much less aiming. Oh, I did it. Oh, okay, yeah, so the thumb position between playing on a PlayStation controller versus on an Xbox controller is much different as well. And I've asked people that too online, like the big reasons why they prefer playing on PlayStation over Xbox and whatnot. And a lot of people have to say like, oh, well, the thumb position between them is so much different, but they feel like the thumb position on the PlayStation is much better for like vertical engagements, like people that are up in the air. I honestly feel much more comfortable with the way that the Xbox thumb position is versus the PlayStation thumb position. Also, I really like the concave thumbsticks instead of the domed thumbsticks. I really don't like the way that the PlayStation thumbsticks are domed, because I like having the ridge of the circle around the concave, because I feel like I use the ridge to it just feels better for aiming versus it being domed. I tried playing with domed thumbsticks because this controller has the option to be able to swap them out in between the concave and the domed. Yeah, and so you can put domed thumbsticks on this controller, and I tried it, and I absolutely hated it. I did not like it at all. Yeah, and so I even tried the extended thumbstick, like the longer thumbsticks, because they have the option. You can play with an extended thumbstick on this controller too. It comes with an extended thumbstick, it comes with a domed thumbstick, and I think that's it. I tried it with the extended thumbstick because you're supposed to be able to have better tracking at long range with the extended thumbstick, but you sacrifice being able to have snappy movement like this. And so you really sacrifice being able to have good movement moving back and forth for having better aim at, you know, miles long engagements, which the trade-off for one over the other wasn't worth it for me, because the engagements that I'm getting in with people, especially when you're playing in ranked and stuff like that, you're getting into a lot of really short range engagements where you're engaging people with shotguns. Having this kind of movement and being able to do this and whatever is way more beneficial to my style of playing than it is to be concerned about trying to beam people from across the map constantly. And so this activity here is really good for just having raw right stick aiming. You don't need to be concerned about left stick aiming on this one, because most of the time you're going to be ADS'd and you're trying to shoot these bots out of the air. But it is really good for just getting really good control over your right stick, just raw aiming. And then you can see for yourself that it just throws these bots up in the air, and then you want to try to track the bots through the air. Sometimes even if you feel like your aim is just really off and you just like something just feels wrong, I'll come into here and I'll just sit and try to hip fire them so that I can see like what I'm doing wrong. And again, having yourself hip firing like this also makes it so that you're focusing on not over flicking. You don't have to come into this activity and just be concerned of, you know, trying to hit a par score, you know, every time. It's an aim trainer. You can sit in here for hours and just be focused on trying to work on these individual things. Give yourself some grace. Chill. Do it 10, 15, 20 times. Like, it doesn't make a difference. That's why there's these settings that are here on the left and right. You can turn off the XP for when you kill the bots so that you don't get that visual clutter of like, oh, okay, I got an elimination, here's 210 XP or whatever. And then there's also this option for you to be able to turn off timers. And so same thing, you can just go into this exercise and you can sit here and just run this exercise for as long as you feel comfortable with. I've sat here and practiced this very activity for 40 minutes straight. You know, that's literally what it takes if you have the will and determination to be good at this game. Like I said, we're on controller. It's that much more difficult for us to have fine aim and being as good as people on PC that have 240 FPS and, you know, 10K plus in earnings or whatever. You know, it don't make a difference either way, but what does make a difference is how hard you work for it. You know, we've got other activities in here, you know, similarly trying to kill things that are like up in the air. This activity is a little bit different because you have different scenarios. The bots are being thrown up at you, or there's like these walls that are coming at you that you have to try to jump over because you'll take damage and whatnot. And there's a few varying different bots that are across the map, and they all have different like things that they're trying to teach you. You know, twitchy aim like this guy, and a lot of this activity is just reaction time and trying to make sure that you're constantly, you know, weapon swapping and landing crit damage on the bots that are close, because you can just one tap them with the mammoth for 170. So you want to make sure that you're dipping, diving, and dodging, just like dodgeball and maybe suggests, you know. Dodge, dip, dive, and dodge, if I remember correctly. And then he's like, oh, you said dodge twice. And it's like, yeah. And then he throws a wrench at him. One of the big things that I had to get over when I was like starting to get, you know, semi-decent at this game was just visually focusing on my target. For some reason, it always feels like when I see them, I can't see them, or at least I don't see them fully. I feel like I'm focused on the entire game, not just what I'm looking at. And so this map really helped me train that, of like being able to actually visually see my enemies instead of just like seeing my enemies in my peripheral vision, but not with my full attention, you know? Another good exercise for like visual tracking with your enemies just moving sporadically across your screen. You can actually try this one if you want. This one's even difficult for me, so just don't even worry about it, but go into dash defense, and then you'll see that like you have these two bots that are just moving, kind of chaotically across the screen. And so you wanna really be focused on trying to like have your reticle ahead of them because of how fast they're moving across the screen. But weapon swapping is a really good thing to get down in this exercise too, because you have the opportunity to be able to land shotgun damage on them if they're up close, and you want to be landing crit damage with the shotgun, but you can also land mammoth damage on them from afar, because again, you're not going to be hitting a shotgun shot to somebody that's 30 meters away for more than like 10. But also this exercise is really good for getting your hip fire down, instead of always being focused on trying to be ADS while you're aiming at your enemies. And so it's really good practice to not be ADS'd in this exercise, and trying to do it just hip fire. Being able to land good damage on enemies while ADS and while not ADS is a really good practice to get into, because there's scenarios where you're going to want to be ADS, and there's scenarios where it's better to not be. Try to focus on one bot and then finish the one bot and then go to the next one. So like target the not red one and then go target the red one after you killed that one. Also, having my back up against this wall is like low-key cheating, because I don't have to worry about seeing my character. Like low-key, this is actually busted how good this is for this activity. I might have to start doing this like every time I come in here. This is busted. If you're not used to playing with or if you're not used to having to be concerned about having just those really just very consistent aim where you're tracking things very closely, and you're more concerned of having movement and stuff like that, you'll train the muscle memory of having that fine raw aim so much faster doing these activities than you would if you were to be trying to play in game. If you really want to get cracked aim, just right stick raw aim, not being concerned about movement and stuff like that, the exercises that I recommend the most are shockwave defense, smooth tracking, dash defense, and shock attack. And so here, let's go into shock attack real quick, Isle. So this activity, you just have shockwaves, and these enemies are up on top of this platform, and they have a good amount of health. And so what you want to do is you want to try to throw the shockwave at the ground and then go up perfectly, and then land damage on them. So you want to send yourself up in the air and then hit the boss on top of this platform. If you don't land a perfect shockwave, still go for the elim, because if you're in game, you're not going to land a perfect shockwave every time that you throw one. So get used to being a little bit off and tracking even when you don't land it perfectly. It took me a lot of hard work to get good at shock attack. It took me a lot of hard work to get good at shockwave defense. And I ain't even gonna lie, even dash defense, I'm still not the greatest at, and they're difficult activities, but they're designed to be difficult on purpose. It literally says it in the loading screen when you're pulling into here. These are designed to be rigorous training exercises, because it will get you that much better, that much faster if you get good at them. If you are struggling with like peeking on right hand corners and stuff like this, like if you're in close engagements, like a lot of the time when you're playing in reload and stuff, because of the structure of the map, when you're playing inside of these really tight buildings and stuff like that have these really kind of weird play styles to it, this speed peaks exercise right here is really good. And so you'll see that these bots are standing around these corners and I go in. Oh my gosh, I just got grief. GG's bot. Yep, I deserve that one. Something that I always struggle with, because, I play on controller, say what you will, is just my movement, griefing my aim, trying to do things like using my grappler and then trying to pre-aim things, and then using my grappler again, sliding, and then trying to land damage on people, right? And doing stuff like this. Come over to these 4 bots over here and just practice movement. Landing damage on bots. And, stuff like that. But this bot right here that's moving, across this is really good training for having good hip fire for enemies that aren't in the air. And I'll just come over here to this bot and I'll just practice weapon swapping and hip fire accuracy. And then I'll swap and do ADS and whatever, and I'll slide and do whatever and try to hit the bot. But predominantly, I use this bot over here in this area to exercise left stick aiming, trying to move with the bot so that you don't have to aim so much with your right stick. And so tracking it with your body movement and also with your cursor, and just hip fire aiming with the Deadeye and hip fire aiming with the attack AR. Like making sure that you're landing the entire magazine instead of landing like 4 or 5 out of the magazine. Oh, that's so funny. Well, do you have any more questions, Izzle? Anything that I can answer? Because, like I said, like I just all too frequently I see people on the internet that are like these pro keyboard and mouse players that have people that are just like you and I, that are like they desperately want to know how to get really good at this game, and they're like I just don't want to play on keyboard and mouse. There's no reason that people at that level should be telling kids, adults, whoever, that, oh, if you want to play at this level, give up playing on controller. Fully give up on controller, go play on keyboard and mouse. That is the answer to getting cracked at Fortnite, is playing on keyboard and mouse. Cap. It's literally cap. My mission is literally to get as cracked on controller as physically possible to prove to everybody that you don't need keyboard and mouse to hit Unreal. You don't need keyboard and mouse to have earnings. You don't need a 240 FPS monitor and a $10,000 PC to be at the top level of gamers in this game. I was like, my mission is literally to beat it into these people that play this game, that to be great at it, you just don't need that stuff. It's all about persistence, consistency, and just hard work. If you think that it's going to take making that transition to get good at this game, you've already lost. Because then you're just going to go and try and switch to something, and then when it's that difficult for you to pick it up from bare bones, not having any understanding of it, it's already over. Because then you're just going to be like, oh, well, why did I switch? It's this difficult for me to do it this way, so then what was the point of me switching in the first place? And so you have to have the confidence in yourself and your own ability to be able to sit down and go, playing on controller is going to be more difficult than if I were to play with the mechanics and stuff of being on keyboard and the ins and outs and whatever. But you are going to get that much more of a reward back for putting in the work than just going, oh, this isn't going to work for me, I should just go do what everyone else is going to do. Yeah, exactly. And be yourself. Now that I have my show FPS on and whatnot, when I'm doing all of this movement and I'm shooting and I'm doing whatever, I'm like literally watching the corner of my screen, and I'll literally drop in between like 120 to 90 doing all of this. And so I'm like losing 30 frames per second when I'm doing all of this crazy stuff. How much did I buy this monitor for? I think I bought this monitor for $160. $160 or $180, something like that. And it's just a 31.5-inch MSI curved monitor. It caps out at 140 hertz. I can play at 120 FPS on my Xbox perfectly fine, and like my FPS at that point is just up to the game and doing its thing and playing on Xbox, right? What do you recommend for copying other people's settings and just kind of just swapping all of it? Yeah, like the difference between copying someone else's settings and then trying to come up with your own. I think that copying someone's settings is good in practice only to an extent. You have to look out for things that you recognize that you're doing, but when you go and spend hours and hours and hours of aim training and you see these things that you're doing consistently in the way that you play, you start to understand like, oh, okay, if I increase my sensitivity too much, then I just start getting crazy aim and everything is just like it just looks wrong, right? Like I'm just way overcompensating for like what the enemy is doing and my tracking is just off. And so I always recommend that like you increase or decrease sensitivity 1 to 2% at a time. You practice it, you train it that way for like 30 to 45 minutes to see what it's doing. If it feels comfortable, great. If not, then go back to what you were playing at. But as for copying people's settings, I think that it's a really good baseline if you see that that's how you play, like very similarly to how that person that you're watching plays. But like I said, it's a good baseline. It's not the answer, but it gives you somewhere to start, right? The camera that I use for streaming, this is a Keo Pro Ultra. It's also made by Razer. They have the Keo Pro, which has like a ring light or something for it. I didn't really care about having the ring light because I've got external lighting here in my apartment, and so I didn't need to worry about it. But this camera, if you if you use this camera on PC, you can actually get 4K at 60 FPS on it. On my Xbox, I can get 1920 by 1080 at 35 frames per second, no problem. Like no frame drop, no nothing. And the autofocus, like you mentioned before, is really good too. The autofocus is insane. It's super crisp. Shameless plug, w.gg, use code CRSlays to get a discount when you go check out. Let's go. Or code IZUL, IZUL, to get a discount when you check out. Get you some w.gg, cop it right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I was saying is that like if you go with the two PC setup, you get to kind of cheap out on one because you don't have to be concerned of it having crazy graphics quality and stuff like that because you're just going to use it to stream. And then the other one you can get something that's just a bit higher, but I will admit the intricacies of having a PC to game to send video to your other PC to stream that out to everybody is a little bit more complicated. And so it kind of just depends on what you want to do. Like having one PC to be able to do both at the same time is almost better if you just don't want to have to worry about all that complicated nonsense. And then also, like, I really appreciate all of the questions that you're asking me because it just gives other people more of like a dynamic understanding of like the whole topic of like what the stream was supposed to be about. So I really appreciate that too. Right on. Well, take it easy, man. It was a pleasure. What's the engine that is on the Airbus A320? I don't know. Fish. You would know that answer before I would know what that answer is. You're the aircraft mechanic. I got you. This was a long stream. I appreciate it so much to hang out with you and talk to you. Absolutely, Izzle. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you as well. I had a great time. 3 hours. I literally can't believe it. That was awesome. I've never talked this long even in my real life. And so you know what? Appreciate you as well. All the questions that you were asking were really great. It was good to get to meet you and get to hang out with you for the first time. That was awesome. All right, everyone. So here we are at the end of part 2 of this Get Cracked on Controller mini-series. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this content. I put a lot of really hard work into editing this video and then getting this content together so that you guys can have a better chance at taking down the sweats in Fortnite. If you would like to see more content like this, or you have something that you want to add to the conversation, feel free to drop it down in the comments below and let me know what you'd like to see in a future video. And again, this is Colin Ray Slays, and don't forget to slay 'em all.